Hi, my name is Trevor. I am the Curator of Education here at the St. Augustine Alligator Farm, and thank you for joining us today. I'm also joined by my friend Cricket here, who is a swallow-tailed kite. You might be noticing that some of these birds here are starting to make their yearly migration back to Florida, and I hope you join us this upcoming Friday to learn all about our backyard birds, their migrations, and everything there is to know really about the species that we have here in our state. Now, if you are already looking for some of our swallowtail kites here in Florida, what you're going to want to look for is primarily their V-shaped tail. Now, it's a little difficult to see here on Cricket, but we'll get a better view on Friday. But swallowtail kites are known for their V-shaped tail feathers, which help them keep soaring at pretty long distances. Now, what you also want to look for are their narrow heads and that raptor-like beak, which allows them to eat their favorite foods, which are usually flying insects. Now again, I hope you rejoin us this upcoming Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern and learn all about backyard birds then. Bye guys. Hi everyone, it's me again. I'm here with another one of our native Florida birds. As you can see right above me, this is our barred owl enclosure, so we're gonna go inside and see what's going on. So I'm here with Lindsay, one of our bird and mammal keepers, and her really good friend, Olivia. Lindsay, you want to tell us a little bit about Olivia here?
I would love to. Hi guys, this is Olivia. She is a barred owl, and they are actually going to be found all throughout the eastern half of the U.S. Now, unfortunately, Olivia was brought to us back in 2001 because she was hit by a car, and like all birds of prey, they can only be let back out in the wild if they are at 100%. So her left wing does hang a little bit low, so she has found a fantastic home here with us. But small things you guys do every day can actually help out quite a bit so that doesn't happen to more of her wild bird friends. So if you just go ahead, any trash you have in your car, that includes apple cores, things like that, keep them in your car until you find a nice trash can, throw them out there. If you throw apple cores, sandwich things like that, that will actually attract mice to the road, and of course that will attract owls to the mice. And unfortunately, it is the owls that will get struck by cars. So small things you guys do can actually help out quite a bit.
Awesome, thank you, Lindsay. And so what are you doing with her right now?
I am actually getting her weight. So we get their weights every single week to make sure that they are pretty standard. We want to make sure that they're within normal range for their species. And she is doing very well. You can see I'm going to lift this up a little bit. And she is a nice, healthy girl.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Lindsay, and thank you, Olivia. We will see you all later this week.
Awesome. Thanks, Trevor.
Bye. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our virtual backyard field trips here at the St. Augustine Alligator Farm. Some of you might remember me. My name is Trevor. I am part of the education team here at the Alligator Farm. And again, thank you for joining us in these definitely difficult and strange times that we're living in. I first want to say, during this about 10 to 15 minute program, we're going to be learning all about our birds that are native to us here in Florida, but we can really apply these lessons to all over the U.S. So if you're watching from outside of Florida, don't worry, some of these lessons can definitely be applied to you where you are in your regions. If you are here in Florida, you're definitely going to recognize some of the birds that we'll be talking about today, especially some of our guest visitors as well. Now, here at the Alligator Farm, we are definitely feeling the effects of basically this shutdown that we're all facing. So if you do have the time or you do have the resources to go to our website or go to our Facebook page and figure out how you can help out, we are always posting new things on how you can contribute to basically our welfare of the animals that we are caring for. Myself and our guest speakers today are here to care for the animals primarily, but we are also here to help educate you while you guys are all at home. Now, you guys probably will notice some animals behind me on our wall, not necessarily live animals, but we have some animals that you may have seen in your own regions or in your own backyards, such as this species right over here. While we do not have a live wood stork for you, this is a great example of what one looks like. So if you are doing your backyard bird count, whether you're looking out your windows or you're on your patio, or maybe you're actually in your backyard, or maybe on a nice nature trail, you're definitely going to want to look out for this species over here to my right. Wood storks are very common here in North to Central and even South Florida. And especially this time of the year, they are in their breeding season. So you'll see a lot of wood storks starting to make their nests, gathering sticks and materials for that, and then even rearing their chicks. Another fantastic bird that we have here in our state is also our national bird, the bald eagle. I was actually lucky enough the other day to see a mating pair of bald eagles right by my house. So this is definitely a species that you can see here in our state. Bald eagles actually do mate for life. So if you do see two bald eagles together, more than likely that pair has been mated for life and has hopefully produced a few chicks on their own. Now, we didn't bring you here to show you some pictures or paintings on the wall, so I do want to shift over here to my right. I'm going to actually introduce you to our first guest, right? And this is one of my close and personal friends. His name is Cricket, and if you joined us or you saw one of our videos earlier this week, you probably had already met Cricket. Cricket here is a swallowtail kite. He's actually named after his favorite food, crickets. So I'm going to go ahead and give him this one. Good boy. So swallowtail kites are a species that is native to us here in Florida. However, they are what we call a migratory species. That simply means that this animal will only spend part of his time. Are you okay there, buddy? It looks like you got a little excited for these different insects that we're going to be giving him today. But these animals will only spend part of their time here in our state and spend the other time, or the other part of their life, in South America. This migratory pattern allows them to stay in nice, temperate, warm climates. They really don't like the cold too much. Now, for our swallowtail kites, you actually will rarely see them ever perched like Cricket is doing right here for us. There you go, boy. Most likely, if you ever see swallowtail kites, they'll actually look more like this. Right? This is what our swallowtail kites will be doing throughout the majority of the year. Right? These animals will actually stay up in the airstream, right, for purposes like hunting or even mating and breeding. So if you're looking up in your sky and you're doing that backyard bird count, you're trying to figure out what that bird in the sky is with that very pronounced V-shaped tail, right? That is going to be a swallowtail kite more than likely. Now for Cricket here, unfortunately, he is unable to fly at all anymore. This animal was actually struck by a car and actually had his right wing amputated. So if he does lift up his wings here in a little bit, sometimes he does throughout the day, all right, you'll be able to see that he only has partially of a right wing. And that is actually because he was hit by a car. Unfortunately, this is a huge issue or a threat to our swallowtail kites and a lot of our other native raptors to us here in Florida, but throughout the entire United States. For our birds of prey, they're primarily looking for mice, rats, insects, anything that's going to be on the ground and they can swoop down and catch. Now, the issue that they face where humans, us, come into play is these animals will actually be looking again for those rats, mice, things that are typically scavengers, and those scavengers are typically looking for food along roadways. So anytime you take maybe a banana peel, an apple core, maybe just a little bit of food that you think will biodegrade, will go away in time, more than likely that will attract those mice, those rats, those scavengers, which ultimately attracts our raptors. Now, too often we see a lot of our raptors that are struck by cars, and a lot of times that does lead to their fatality. But sometimes they can be saved, and they can be brought to our medical or our veterinary hospitals. They can have the proper medical care taken care of, and they can have an amazing life as an ambassador animal. So Cricket here helps us engage and teach our public, our guests, you all, about the importance of making sure that we keep our roadways clean. All right. I'm going to go ahead and give Cricket here one more of these wax worms. As you can see, he is very interested in what I have in my hand. There you go, buddy. And what you also might notice is his beak shape. So for our swallowtail kites, right, they're going to have a very narrow head compared to many raptors, right? This narrow head allows them to catch a lot of small flying insects through the sky. That's actually where they do the majority of their hunting, right? They're going to be up in the sky, flying around, looking for flying insects like mosquitoes, stinging bees and wasps, or even beetles. Now they can also eat a lot of other prey items, like lizards, rodents, as I was mentioning earlier. Sometimes they'll even prey on smaller species of birds. So these raptors have a very, very wide and vast diet, which is pretty cool. And what you also might notice about Cricket as you're looking at him is his feet, right? This animal, his feet aren't very large compared to other raptors. If you look at our barred owls, basically talons or their feet, or you look at other raptors' talons or feet, are you okay there, buddy? I'm gonna go ahead and help him up over here. Sometimes he gets a little excited and he likes to jump off his perch, but that's why we built this nice big base for him, so if he ever does jump off, he can easily climb right back on. This is all part of a training program that we do with Cricket and some of our raptors here at our park. As you can see, he can maneuver or find his way right back up to the top there. Now, as we again look at his feet there, they're very small. These animals, again, primarily will be in the air, and they typically don't perch very often. When they do perch, they'll perch up in the very tops of trees, like our cypress trees or our live oaks, and that's where they'll do the majority of their nesting. All right? How you doing, Cricket? Looks like he's just rubbing down his beak after that nice little meal he had with all those mealworms, crickets, and superworms. Now, for swallowtail kites, because it is breeding season, you'll typically see upwards of 2 or 3 swallowtail kites soaring in the air, right? And typically, these animals do mate for life as well. So, just like our bald eagles, typically, when one kite mates with another, right, that will be for life. They'll typically have upwards of 1 to 3 eggs in their clutch, right? But typically only rear about 1 or 2. Looks like Cricket here is getting a little camera shy, so we're actually going to transition right over here to our other special guest, Nina Wood. So Nina Wood actually has some really cool show and tell things for you today.
Hi, my name is Nina. If you are just joining us on our backyard adventure, we're actually covering the different birds that you can find in your backyard as you are exploring nature trail right outside your porch, or even just hanging out by the window. You can see a lot. But if you do have the chance to go outside and look around on the ground, well, the soil actually hides a lot of really cool things if you don't know what you're looking for. So since we have been talking about our birds of prey do really cool stuff to get their stomach going. So if you come in closer, we actually have a couple of examples of what we call pellets. If you are really big into falconry, these pellets are called castings. But as zookeepers, we call them pellets. So what in the world is a pellet? Well, sure enough, our birds of prey, they have a couple of steps when they have their lovely meals. So if Cricket over there, our swallowtail kite, were to eat a big old mouse, he's gonna swallow that mouse down, kind of chokes it down, it's very big for his face, and then it goes up into his stomach. In that stomach, our birds of prey have something very special called a gizzard. You might have heard of that before if you're ever interested in eating gizzards, but you might change your mind after I tell you what it does. So our gizzards are actually going to help digest. But as all the bone and flesh and fur and nails and teeth get in there, the gizzard actually is kind of the teeth for our birds of prey. So while they have that hooked beak to do the damage for their food, it's actually the gizzard that kind of chops it all up. It's gonna help grind all that food up. However, our birds of prey have urates. So instead of actually creating big piles of feces, they're just gonna let out what kind of looks like some weird juices. So where do all those teeth, bones, and fur and nails and all that junk go? Well, sure enough, that's why we have our gizzard. That gizzard is going to put those materials together into a very nice sized pellet. Cricket actually went ahead and made one for me this morning, which is awesome, so I collected that for you guys to see today. The gizzard will actually create that shape and form in about 6 to 10 hours after that big meal, which is really cool because you can see them happen almost every single day. So if you ever catch a bird of prey or maybe owl and it looks like it's coughing or choking, you could actually possibly see them go ahead and release a pellet. Now the one next to Cricket's beautiful one from this morning, I actually already kind of tore apart for you. And that is because I wanted to show you the different things that are in it. So here you're seeing a lot of fur that's going to create that nice material that's going to be around it and shape it. But there's also something called roughage, which is this piece here. Our birds of prey are going to chew sometimes on leaves, maybe small pieces of sticks and vines, and that's actually going to help form the pellet. So they will use materials other than meat and fur and bone. Also with Cricket, as his name is Cricket, he loves his crickets. So sure enough, there is actually a little piece of a cricket leg in this one as well. And right next to our torn up one can come in different shapes and colors as well. But this one, and as you can see here, you can actually see that exoskeleton there of one of the mealworms that he probably had a really good time destroying. But again, here's some more roughage that he's going to be using around his enclosure to create that pellet for him. Now, why in the world do birds of prey have to create pellets? Well, it helps with their digestive system, but it also does something called cleaning their crop. It's actually a whole nother part or kind of organ to them, and that crop is actually going to be cleaned out. Those juices are going to surround our lovely pellets here, and it allows for them to release those pellets through their mouth. So don't think that it hurts them to release these hard or furry kind of pellets. It actually has that nice coating, so it's very smooth for them. We also brought here today a really another cool pellet. And this one is a lot larger in size, so it definitely does not belong to Cricket there. It's going to belong to a barred owl that we have here at our facility. So our barred owl, she went ahead and dropped one off for us, and it's going to be a lot bigger. She has a much bigger diet than Cricket does, and she is eating way more furry items, as Cricket's going to be eating a lot of insects, so you can check out all those furs to it. That bigger pellet is going to get larger when you think of things like bald eagles and so on and so forth. Barn owls. So those guys are more like sandy and white. Our barred owls are going to get their beautiful name from their feathers. If you check out a barred owl in your backyard, that's mostly the one you hear hooting around. Well, sure enough, they have these bars that come across their feathers, and that's a dead giveaway that you're checking out a barred owl. That being said, if you're exploring your yard and you are lucky enough, treasure finder, to get one of these pellets and check them out, you definitely don't want to touch them. Now, I am touching them with gloves and my tools as well, and that is because pellets actually shouldn't be touched, especially with your bare hands. That's because pellets can actually carry those rodent viruses from their meal. It will go straight into the pellet, so if you find one, just go ahead and leave it alone, but you can definitely check out ours anytime. But also, they carry very different bacteria, and other animals can actually be discovered eating pellets, so you definitely want to keep your hands off of them. But other than that, they're pretty cool to check out. Maybe not, but you know, it is what it is.
All right, thank you, Nina. So again, if you are in your backyard or you're looking out and you're trying to find these birds, all right, our swallowtail kite like Cricket here will be one of those birds you can find in your backyard, as well as wood storks, roseate spoonbills, barred owls like Nina was just discussing and we saw earlier this week, right? If you are in the southeast region, this is where we're primarily going to see most of our swallowtail kites migrating to. So keep your lookout for those V-shaped tails up in the sky. Now, I want to thank you guys all for joining us on our first virtual backyard field trip. We will be hosting these every Friday at noon. Next week, we'll have another very special guest. We'll be teasing who that guest will be at the beginning of next week. And we'll be all about amphibians and reptiles and how to tell the difference between the two. If you guys have any questions, please reach out to us on Facebook or social media, and we'd be happy to answer any of those for you. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.